Hey guys, and welcome to week 4. I cannot believe that we've already been back to school for a whole month. It's bananas. But I hope that you all had a great long Labor Day weekend and that you're ready to get started and finish off the rest of this week. So, this is going to be my part 1 video where I go over close reading, which is what you read from the Carolina Reader this week. And while this close reading is about close reading in general and will apply to all of the readings that we do throughout the semester, I'm going to apply close reading and give you an example using our 2 poems for this week, My Papa's Waltz and Those Winter Sundays. So let me get rid of my face real quick because I know you guys don't want to look at that. Okay, so just some announcements and reminders real quick, like I always do at the beginning of the week. I sent out this survey for meeting synchronously last week, and most of you have filled it out, but some of you still haven't. So please fill this out as soon as possible. It's just regarding whether or not you would like to meet synchronously and when you would if you do. So some of you have filled it out and have already mentioned that you would like to meet synchronously, even if it's just bi-weekly or once a month. So please fill this out as soon as possible so that I can let you guys know by Friday if we'll meet synchronously, when that will be, etc. But just so you know, it's not mandatory and it won't be a part of your grade. It's just so that it gives us an opportunity at least to see each other and to chat more about the readings and to ask questions, etc. So this other thing is that I've made a message board for us, since a lot of you guys have asked me questions that I of course don't mind answering, but that a lot of you all probably have. And so I thought it'd be cool to make something for you guys to communicate with each other, and also for me to post extra credit if I decide to do that throughout the semester, which I will a few times. So it looks like this. You can download this app in the App Store. This is on the desktop, but it's also for your phone. And I've created these little channels. So once you click on the link and you make your Slack, if I have any extra credit throughout the semester, I'll post it under this channel. If you have any general questions for each other, literally about anything, then you could post it here. If you have any fur or human babies or any just random things that you guys want to talk about, you can post it here. And if you ever want to talk more about the readings and have a discussion about it that the discussion board doesn't mention, then this is a place to do it. So again, totally voluntary. You don't have to get it, but in case this would be helpful, I went ahead and made one. So your feedback on week 3 discussion posts is posted. I've commented on all of them, so please make sure you go check that out. And remember that your discussion post is due tomorrow by 11:59 p.m. and your 2 responses are due Friday, September 11th by 11:59 p.m. So, close reading a linguistic text. This was your Carolina Reader reading. It's very short. So, what is close reading? In short, it's exactly what you guys all started doing last week when you practiced reading like a writer for your discussion posts. And a lot of Bun's advice on how to read like a writer and why it's important and what it looks like inevitably leads you to close reading and analyzing. And I saw this in a lot of your discussion posts, and I can tell that you guys did too in your responses. So basically, what close reading is rather than taking what is presented as simply existing, you start to look at the deeper meaning of the text. So what is the mode? Linguistic, visual, oral. The reading goes over what those look like and what the difference is between them. What is the genre, fiction or nonfiction? What's the layout? What's the theme? What does the tone sound like? But what's especially important is language, okay? And Bun talks about this at length. But what words, sentences, or phrases stick out to you? Why did the author make this choice? What does it do to the reading, and how does it make you feel? So language is especially important, and I would argue it's one of the most important things to focus on when you're close reading, because it influences all of the elements above, like genre, theme, and tone. And you can form an analysis just based off of a close reading of the author's language, like Robert did in his discussion post last week. So Robert analyzed Zero Plastic and came to a couple conclusions. One, that the couple in the story had a potentially unhealthy relationship, and 2, the man had grown conceited and or self-absorbed because of his recent success in his art career. So obviously these aren't things that Blackwell straight up says in her piece, but Robert was able to come to those conclusions based off of the language that she used to describe what the characters were feeling and what they were doing. So I've provided an example here of what close reading looks like, and it's kind of a guide. So the Carolina Reader takes you through a step-by-step process of how to approach close reading from beginning to end. So this is how I approached close reading my Papa's Waltz, along with some questions I had that pair alongside the Carolina Reader's steps to close reading. So these are just questions that I had, and these annotations are the things that stuck out to me, the questions and observations that I had. But the things that stick out to me help me form a close reading of the poem that helps me develop my own analysis. This doesn't necessarily mean it will be the same conclusion you guys come to, and that's perfectly fine. That's the magic of literature, right? That we can all read this one short poem and all come up with very different interpretations and analyses about it. But as long as we can defend them, they are all just as valid or, quote, correct as each other's. So another important thing is the Carolina Reader tells you that the last step is to draft a summary. And if you find this helpful, then you can do this. But I also included a link to this other guide for how to close read. And they mention a really important last step, which is to analyze and interpret. So how does that insight, the insight that you gain from your annotations, from asking questions, from pointing out what sticks out to you, how does that insight change or enrich your understanding of the passage? So that close reading will start to merge into an analysis and an interpretation until you eventually come to your own argument about what you think the meaning of the poem is and what you would argue about it. So these are just some basic questions that I had, some things that especially stuck out to me. What's really interesting about this poem in particular is that it's widely accepted as aggressive or as violent, like it's a very negative poem. I'm going to wait and then share with you a more in-depth analysis of how I read the poem until afterwards, because I want to hear what you guys have to say first. But I'm curious to see whether you found that in your reading. So do you find it violent and aggressive? So for instance, the first lines of the poem are, "The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy." So instantly we have a ton of questions. So what information do we have right off the bat? What sticks out to you in this first stanza? Who is the narrator and what is his tone when describing his papa? What's the significance of him having whiskey on his breath? And what does the narrator think about this? These are some other lines that stuck out to me, but this is what it looks like to really break down a text and approach it word by word and line by line so that you can develop a close reading. So I am providing the first extra credit discussion of the semester. So this is at the end of the reading in the Carolina Reader, but the question is the narrator speaking positively or negatively about their experience? How would you describe the tone of this poem? How did it make you feel and why? So remember, this is completely subjective. It's totally up to you and how you read it. But I want you to submit your replies on Blackboard. Not that. So what you'll do is I made this discussion post right here. You'll just click on it. This is the question that I asked, and so you'll reply to it and leave your response right here. This is what it looks like. So as usual, if you guys have any questions, please reach out and let me know. I'm going to post my next video by Thursday night. But until then, have a lovely week and just let me know if you need anything.